This is Tzadik Dalet Amud Aleph 94a. Tanraban and the rabbis taught in the Brisa, Modi'im, I should say. If someone is standing outside that city of Modi'in, that means he's not in the proximity of Yerushalayim when it comes time to bring the Korban Pesach. So he's considered the derech rechek, he's on the way. So he doesn't have to come to bring the Korban Pesach, he's exempt. So those are the people that are exempt. Someone that's tamei or b'derech recheka, and this person is outside of Modi'in. V'yochal likanis b'susim u'b'peradim. He's able to come. You see, there was a time when he was outside that area. That's when he would be exempt, according to the opinion that we said before. Ula, it would be from the time of the shechita, because at the time of the shechita you won't be able, that's shechita of the korban, which is noontime on the 14th, you won't be able to get to the Yerushalayim. It's a half a day's walk, which is 15 mil. You won't be able to get to Yerushalayim in time before the shechita is over. However, this person, he has access to horses and mules. He's going to be able to get there quicker. So location-wise, he's further than 15 mil, but he's got he has transportation that could get him there faster. Maybe he's nevertheless chayiv because of this ability that he's chayiv, which means chayiv means that if he doesn't come, he's going to be chayiv kares for not bringing the Korban Pesach because he had this potential. Pasuk says he wasn't on the road. And this person is yes on the road, so he's exempt. He's not chayiv. Okay, now we're going to say the opposite case. Let's say he was within 15 mil of Yerushalayim at the time of the shechita of the korban, and theoretically it's no problem. Start walking and you'll get there. However, problem is that there's a lot of traffic. There's camels and wagons that are blocking the roads. But if he wants to get off his carriage and walk in between, he'll be able to. Traffic on the highway, that's only traffic because of the cars. You want to park on the side and walk, so go ahead. So that's what maybe this person is considered not able to get there because of the traffic, or maybe it's considered that he is able to get there because leave your wagon and go. Maybe he's exempt because of all the traffic. Pasuk says that when is someone chayiv? If he wasn't on a journey, if this person isn't on a journey, he's close enough to Yerushalayim, it's not considered a journey. So this person is going to be chayiv. Chayiv means that if he doesn't show up, there's kares. Okay, that's the easy part. Rava. Rava says, Shita alfei parsi havi alma. 6,000 parsais is the world. We learned before parsa is 4 mil. Okay. So 6,000 parsais is the world. What does the world mean? Rashi says it's the circumference, not the circumference, the arc of the way the sun goes from east to west. Half of the circumference of the world, of the earth, of the world. Because we're talking about the movement of the sun. That's according to Rashi. It could also be learned other ways. It could be learned 6,000 parsais is the world. What would it mean if that's the earth? This would mean that the earth is 6,000 parsais. That means 4 mil per parsa. It's 24,000 mil. The earth is probably I don't know how big is a mile. It's under a mile, right? I think so. Okay, anyway, whatever the case is. We're talking about according to Rashi, we're talking about the way the sun revolves. The Sumcha Da'ara Alpha Parsi. However, Sumcha de Rakia Alpha Parsi. The thickness of the Rakia is 1,000. Now, I guess the only way to understand this would be, what happens is, let's say this is the Earth, all right? So the sun goes from east to west, east to west. What happens when it sets in the west? So according to this ancient version of how things worked was the sun then went through the firmament, went back over by night, and came back in the morning, and the sunrise was the sun going through some sort of window in the firmament, and then coming back up and going over. Now, there's an argument we're going to see on the next page, between the sages of the nations and the sages of the Jewish people. This is the way the Jewish people felt. But I think the Gemara then says that the sages felt differently, and I think the Gemara accepts the non-Jewish sages. They said that the sun went underneath, and they had a proof for it, because the water, the streams, or the springs seem to be warmer at night than they are during the day. And that's probably not with the thermometer, or maybe yes, maybe even with the thermometer, because it takes all day for it to heat up. So that they think the sun went underneath, that warmed the springs. Okay, whatever the case is, what Rava is saying is that this is 6,000 amas, but that little window that it goes, when does it go through that window? It goes through that window in between dawn and sunrise. Dawn and sunrise, it enters the window at dawn, that's why we start to see light. And then at sunrise, we see the sun already. So that is the distance, sunrise, between dawn and sunrise. And this is between sunset and the 3 stars. So the thickness of that firmament is 1,000 amas, but the whole journey is 6,000. The Gemara says, one of these things he heard from his teachers, and one of them he developed on his own through his own logic. So it goes like this. Which one did he hear from his teachers? The 6,000 part. Which one is his own logic? The 1,000. That means the getting through that window. He holds what Rabbi Bar Chana said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Yud parsais. A person can walk 10 parsais by day, in a day. 10 parsais would be from dawn until 3 stars come out, until at night. And he walks 5 mil in between Alesa Shachar, which is dawn, and Netzachama, and sunrise. In those 72 minutes, or whatever it is, that's a walk of 5 million. And from Shkia until 3 stars is also 5. So now that means we're subtracting 10 amas off the day, 10 million off a day's journey, which leaves us with 30 mil from sunrise to sunset. And in between dawn and sunrise and sunset and the 3 stars, that itself is 10 million. We'll view it like this. This is the easiest way. 30 mil by day, 30 mil in between sunrise and sunset. So 5 mil in between dawn and sunrise. So it's 5 to 30. That's the ratio. 5 to 30. 5 in between dawn and sunrise, 30 the whole day. So the ratio is 5 over 30, which would be 1 over 6. So 1 over 6 tells me that the sun is traveling 6,000 the whole day, from sunrise to sunset. It's traveling 6,000. But how long does it take to get through? That's only 1,000 amas. That's what. So it's 1 to 6. Perfect. That's Rava's proof. That's Rava's proof of the distance of the length of the firmament. Meisvei. Where's the question? The thickness of the rakia is 1/10. It's a little different than 1/6. Teida. I'll prove it, he says. Kama mahalachadam beinani b'yayim. Eser parsais. So far he agrees that a person walks by day 10 parsais. Me'aleisa shachav adei netzachabe is our boss milah. He walks from dawn to sunrise 4 mil. So there's a difference here. It's only 4 instead of 5. Okay, he has a shorter dawn to sunrise. Sunrise we can see. Question is, when does dawn begin? There's always this question where you look on the calendar for when does the fast start? Never there's a fast starts at dawn, so you see these different numbers there. So it could be it's the 5 mil, it could be it's the 4 mil, it could be it's set in place, it could be it's judged by other things. I don't know. It's one of these things that I guess you have to study very well to understand what's going on in the calendar. But let's say it's 4 mil. 4 mil, that would mean that what's the ratio here? You have to subtract 8 because 4 plus 4. Let's go. So that's 4 plus 4. 4 from dawn until sunrise, and another 4 from sunset until the 3 stars. So subtract 8. We're left with 32 mil. Right? There's 4 mil to a parsa, so 10 parsais means 40. Subtract 8 of that, we're left with 32. And so it's 4 to 32. Would come out. Nimtza Ibshal Rakia Echad Me'asar B'Yayim. So he's not viewing it 4 to 32. He's viewing it 4 to 40. 4 to 40 would come out 1/10. And come out 1/10. Right? So which means, I don't know why they're switching in the way they're doing the measurements. Before it was 5 to 30. Now it should be 4 to 32. But for some reason they're switching that and they're doing 4 to 40. Okay, what's the question? The question is that Rava said, there's 2 problems here. One of them is that Rava said that it's 1,000 parsai. It's 1,000 parsais. The firmament is 1,000 parsais, and it turns out that it's not 1,000 parsais. It's going to be less than that. If it's 6,000 going over, so then it's going to be 1/10. It's going to be 600. It's not going to be 1,000. There's another problem. Other problem is that we said that dawn to sunrise is a walk of 5 mil, and it turns out that it's a walk of 4 mil. So we say Tiyufta de Rava. There's a question on Rava that was talking about the size of the firmament. Tiyufta de Ula. It's also a question on Ula. Ula told us yesterday how long a person walks in a day and what's going to be half a day, but it was all based on saying that 5 mil is in between sunrise. In between dawn and sunrise. And here we have a Tana, Rabbi Huda, that says that it's only 4 mil. It says Tiyufta, that's a strong question. Mar says, Maybe it's also a question on Rabbi Yechanan, because Ula was quoting Rabbi Yechanan. He said in the name of Rabbi Barbachan, in the name of Rabbi Yechanan. So Rabbi Yechanan can respond. He says, look, I only gave one statement. Everyone else is just elaborating and explaining things that I said, but I never said that. All I said, Rabbi Yechanan would say, is that a person walks 10 parsais a day. For Rabbanan, the Katoi, and the Rabbanan are making the mistake. They're adding in how long is in between this and that. They made a mistake. The Kachashban, the Kadma B'Chashaycha. What happens is they took a look. How long does a person walk from dawn to sunrise? And they said it's 5 parsecs. 5, not 5 parsecs, 5 mil. They said it's 5 mil. Turns out that they weren't realizing that people were getting up for the Daf Yomi so early. They were getting up before dawn. So it was really longer. They thought it was from dawn to, they saw it was 5 mil. They walked from location A to location B, which is 5 mil. And they thought that was from dawn to sunrise. It turns out that they were actually starting earlier. So that's their mistake. Okay. So it could be that it's really only 4. Rabbi Chanina, yesterday we learned, he says that he looked at Sayar, which is the place that light came to, and he looked at Sudaim, and he measured the distance. He says that it's 5 parsecs. Now, what happened over there was that it says that Kamaya Shachar Allah, the dawn arose, and the angels rushed Light and his family to get out. And they reached, it says the sun came over the earth and light came to Tzayar. That means sunrise, light was in Tzayar. They left Sidaim by dawn and sunrise, light was in Tzayar. And he measured it and it was 5 mil. It's a kasha on Rabbi Chanina because Rabbi Yehuda says that it's only 4 mil in between sunrise, in between dawn and sunrise. Rabbi Chanina says, it's shiny. They rushed him. It was a walk of 5 mil, but it was a distance of, it was the time that it usually takes. It was a distance of 5 mil, but they traveled it in a time that usually takes 4 mil. Why? Because the angels rushed them. So they walked faster than normal. Okay. Tashema. Come and listen. Mitzrayim, haya, arba meis parsa, al arba meis parsa. The land of Egypt is 400 parsecs by 400 parsecs. Mitzrayim echad mishishim mikush. Egypt is only 1/60th of Kush. Kush is like Nubia or something. Ethiopia. So Egypt is smaller than what's south of it, Ethiopia. Kush echad mishishim ba'olam. And Kush, Ethiopia, is 1/60th of the world. Ba'olam echad mishishim began. And the world is only 1/60th of, I guess, Gan Eden, the garden. Began echem mishishin be'Eden. And the garden is 1/60th of Eden itself. It says Eden is much higher than that. Be'Eden echem mishishin be'Gehenim. And Eden itself is only 1/60th of Gehenim. Nimtza kol kula kekisa k'tei leGehenim. Comes out that the whole world is just like a pot cover to Gehenim, which means that it's nothing in comparison to Gehenim. Tiyufta. This is a question. What's our question? Question is that Rabba was saying that the world is 6,000 amos and it's 1,000 amos in between the firmament itself. Comes out that Mitzrayim is itself 400 parsecs by 400 parsecs, and this is 1/60th of 1/60th of 1/60th of 1/60th. Doesn't make sense that the firmament is 1,000. We're talking about walking 40 parsecs across. A person walks 40 parsecs by day, and 5, because we're measuring that has to do with, that's the ratio of the firmament to the traveling of the sun, which is 6,000. It's not gonna fit if actually the world is so much larger. We say to you, this is a question. Tashema, another brisa. Tana de Be'Eliyahu was taught in the yeshiva of Eliyahu. Apparently, in the days of the Tanoim, there was Eliyahu would come teach. Eliyahu Navi would come teach, and this is what they thought. Rav Nosson Neimer. Rav Nosson says, "Kol hayishuv kulay tachas keichav echad yeshuv." All of the inhabited lands are all situated under one star. Teda, I'll prove it to you. Person looks up at a star, and he walks with his head looking up at the star. So Heilich leMizrach, when he's on the east side, Oimid connected, the star is right there, right above him. La'abaruch Asylum travels all over the world. Oimid connected, the star is right there. He never got away from that star. It must be that the whole inhabited land, wherever he walked, is all under one star. Miklal, the Kol Yishuv Kuli, Tachas Keichav Echad Yeshem. It must be that everything is under one star. Gemara says, Tiyufta, this is also a question. Now, what's the question? Over here, what we're asking is that there's obviously more than one star. You look up, you see there's more than one star. What are those stars going over? The lands that are not inhabited. Now, if each star is as far as you can walk, and then there's many stars, so then it's got to be more than 6,000 parsos. Yeah, we see that the inhabited land is more than 1,000 parsa, and there's many stars in the sky. And if each inhabited land is one star, so it's not that there's only 6 stars. There's many stars. Okay, so the world must be more than 6,000 parsecs. Toshima is another brisa that we bring. It says Egla is Batsafain, but Akrev Badarim. Egla may be Taurus, or I don't know how we translated it before. I had this in here. That's on the north, and Akrav, which is Scorpio, is in the south. Yeah, they would draw lines in between stars, and that would create a picture. That's what the dot to dots. When you make those lines and you do it correctly, you come out with pictures. So, and those are groups of stars. So this one is on the north. One group is on the north. It's called Egla, and one is on the south. It's called Akrav, Scorpio. All the inhabited lands are only in between these two stars. And all of the inhabited land is only 1 hour of the day. Now, what that means is like this. You have to read it a little bit further to get this. Because the sun is over the inhabited lands for 1 hour. Teda, and I'll prove it. And the 5th hour of the day, the sun is still on the east, before noon. B'sheva, the 7th hour, which is afternoon, then the sun is already on the west. However, in between the 5th and the 7th, which is 5.5 to 6.5, the sun is above every person. The sun is directly above. Now, everywhere you go, the sun is above. That means that the sun covers the inhabited lands for 1 hour of the day. And the rest of the day, it's going over the uninhabited land. Much more than the amount of time that it's over us. That's the case. That means that the uninhabited lands are 11 times the inhabited land, because it's only 1 hour over the inhabited land. Which means that the world has got to be a lot bigger than 1,000 parsecs, than 6,000 parsecs. It's not. This is more than 6 times us. We're more than 1,000 parsecs itself. Okay. Tiyufta, that's a question. Tashima Adamar Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai. Come and listen. Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai said, "Machuvasai hashivtai shivatei baska leisirasha b'shasha amar." What was the response that the heavenly voice said to that wicked person, Nebuchadnezzar, at the time that he said, Allah b'masayav Adam el elyon, I'm going to go up to the thick clouds and I'll be comparable to God. Because he wanted to go up and become like God. I guess all his conquerings and everything made him quite haughty. So Yatsa Basko, the heavenly voice came out, Varmalai, and said, Russia ben Russia, wicked person, son of wicked person, Ben Benishal Nimrod Russia, grandson of Nimrod. Rashi says it doesn't mean literally grandson, it means from his offspring. That he caused everyone to rebel against me. Nimrod caused everyone by the Dara Flaga to fight against Hashem. How long does a person live? 70 years. Then Begvuris, he was very strong. 80 years. Okay. So he's saying, listen here, tough guy. It says, to walk from the earth to the first firmament is a 500-year walk. That's walking uphill. So that's not an easy walk. Steps. And then to walk from the first rakia to the thickness of each rakia, the thickness of the rakia itself is 500-year walk. And then you had to go in between each rakia is 500 years. And so is between every rakia. Rather, go down into the pit to those that the legs of the pit. Okay. Tiyufta, this is another question. What we're saying over here is how big the world is, which has got to be more than the 6,000 and 1,000 parsais that Rafa was telling us. Why? How are we getting this calculation? We say like this: if a person can walk 10 parsais in a day. So now you have to calculate how many days there are in 500 years. But that whatever that's going to be, that's going to be more than 6,000. 6,000. It really would only be 600. It's going to be more than 600, which is the size of the earth, according to Rava. Okay, Taner Rabbanan. I started in the Brisa. Chachmi Yisrael Oimrim Galgal Kavua Mazalis Chayzrim. Chachmi Yisrael Oimrim Galgal Chayzrim Mazalis Kavuan. I'm not sure exactly how this works. Apparently, there was a question about the problem. The galaxies, the rotation of the stars, not the stars, of the planets. It seems that they go in a according to the way the Gemara is viewing it, that they go in some sort of like, I don't know, I guess you have to imagine it like an ice or something, some sort of clear sphere that the whole sphere moves, and then what we're looking at is everything moving all at once. So the question is, does everything move all at once? Is it the Galgal that's Chayzer and the Mazalis are Kvuim? The stars are and the planets are Kavua in the Mazalis and the whole thing is moving? Or do we say that no, those are stationary, and in them the Mazalis are moving in them. They have their rotations in them. That's what it seems. Okay. Chachmi Yisraelim Galgal Kavua. The Jewish sages said that the actual, I don't know what the word for the Galgal is, these spheres are stationary. Mazal is chayzin, but the planets, the constellations are what's moving inside them. It says no, everything is moving, and the mazal is kavun. But it looks like the mazalis are moving, but they're actually not. They're actually stationary, and it's just those spheres that are moving. Amar Rebbe, Tshuva L'Divrayim. A response to the Chachmei Masailam would be, Me'olam le'metzino agala b'darim v'akar b'tzafin. We never find that agala, which we said, Taurus, should be on the south, and Akrav Batzafan. And Akrav would be on the north. I'm not sure how this is approved. Apparently, Rebbe is saying that if the Galgal is chayzer, if everything is moving, then it would have turned this way and upside down, and it would have turned in a way that it would have switched sides also. And if you say that it's moving inside, then it's not going to move distant than where it's supposed to be itself. I guess that's what it's saying. It's going to keep its direction. Maskefla Ravacha Bar Yaakov said, how do you know that? B'dilma kibutzina derechaya inami kitzinura dedasha. How do you know that it's moving in such a way? Maybe it's moving just in its own rotation. What is a butzina derechaya? Like some part of the mill that just keeps going around. And so it's not going to switch directions. Or maybe kitzinura dedasha is some part of the door also. I guess the hinge, that it just goes on its own rotation, but on its own axis, and it's not going to switch over. Okay. Chachmei Yisrael Oimrim b'yoyim. This we mentioned before. B'yoyim chama malachas lamata min harakia, b'layla lamayla min harakia. So you have to imagine that there's a firmament. Yeah, I'll go like this. By day, the sun travels underneath over here, and then we'll go from this side to this side. Then by night it goes out, and it goes over the top, and then by day it goes back in. That's the view of the Jewish sages. Yeah, you're right. By day it's under the rakia, the sun. However, balayla lamata min karka. But you see, it goes under here, and then it continues down, and then it comes back up. Lamata min karka, it goes under. Amar Rebbe v'nirin divrei mid divreinu. Rebbe says they're probably correct. Shabiyai mayanis tzaynanim u'balayla reitchem. Because by day the springs are cold, and at night they're hot. Yeah. At first glance, I would think that this means just because the difference in temperature. By day it's hot outside, you go in, oh, this is cold. At night it's freezing out, so you go in, you say, oh, this is warm. But it may be more than that. It may be that it actually increases in temperature because of the water takes longer to heat up. And so throughout the whole day, it's heating up, and the earth is quicker to cool off. It heats up quicker, but also cools off quicker. So it could be actually that there's the temperature itself. Okay, objective. Tanya, Reb Nassan Aimer b'yimay chama malachas b'gay b'shel rakia. In the summer, the sun goes at the height of the rakia. Lefikach kolim kula reiteach. That's why everything is hot. Mayanis tzainim. But the springs are cold. Yeah. I don't know what it means. Height. Okay. In the winter, the sun goes in the lower part of the firmament. That's why everything is cold. I don't know what shipule means. Do they have any translation? What it means in the height of the lower part? I would like to translate it that it's more to the south, below the equator, and it's just telling us our seasons. Yeah, let's translate it like that. That in the summer, it's in the height. That means it's more in the north. It's more in the north. The sun is more in the north. That way, the northern hemisphere is hot. In the winter, it's more in the south. And that's why the northern hemisphere, which is where they're talking about, is cold. Why is Mayam Sreitchim? So we'll say that the springs, I guess, get heated from the south and then they make their way up. Maybe from the, what's it called? The water that, what's it called? The belt, the water, the way the water travels through the ocean. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan. Start in the Brisa. What is it?
It says they originate at the ends of the earth and thus close to the sun when it is low in the sky.
Oh, okay. Okay. What's it called? The currents in the water in the oceans. The currents that bring the weather, the warm weather.
The tides?
Not the tides. There's currents that go around the oceans. What's it called?
Gulf
Stream.
Stream.
The Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream. Thank you. Yeah. So maybe that's what it's referring to. That it heats up in one place, but it brings the water to the. So that's fine. Anyway. There's 4 paths that the sun takes. Nisan Yar Sivan Malechas Baharim. During those months, Nisan Yar Sivan, spring, the sun travels in the mountains. Over there it melts the snow. Tamazav Elam Malechas B'Yishuv Kedei Lavashal Peres. In the summer months, it goes through the inhabited area to ripen the fruits. Tishrei Macheshvan v'Kislev Malechas B'Yamim. During the Tishrei, which is the fall, Macheshvan and Kislev, it goes over the oceans. Kedei Liyavashas Anaharis. Over there, it's causing the streams, the rivers to evaporate, and then to cause the rain to fall. And Tevish Varada Malachas B'Midbar Shaloi Liyavashas Azraim. And then during the winter, the sun is going over the desert so that it doesn't cause the grain that has been planted to dry out. Okay, that's that story. Back to what we learned in the Mishnah, Reb Lezer and Maskupas. We had a machlekes in the Mishnah between what's considered on the road, on a journey, and therefore you're exempt from the Korban Pesach. So we had the opinion of Rabbi Akiva that it said from Modi'in and more distant. However, Rabbi Lezer held that it was actually, if you're not in the Azara itself, you're considered on a road. Now, Rabbi Yossi says to Rabbi Lezer, oh, that's so interesting because there's a hay on B'derech Rechaika, on the word Rechaika, there's a dot above that hay, which means like to erase the word, and which means that you don't have to be on a distant journey, you just have to be on any journey. There's a problem over here. What's happening? He's standing on the askufa of the Azara, on the threshold of the Azara. He's able to just step over the threshold. You don't tell him, Mister, step over the threshold. You have to mitzayim, you have to make him come to do the Korban Pesach, to get him to walk in. Vatani, you the Arshlaimal, Anushkaris, the Rabbi Eliezer. If someone didn't have a bris, so he gets karis because he doesn't get karis because he doesn't have a bris, which he does get karis but that's not what we're referring to, because that karis only gets at the end of his life. Here we're talking about that he's missing the Korban Pesach and he's getting karis. You see, there's going to be a punishment here if someone is able to have a bris and doesn't. Even though when he doesn't have a bris, he doesn't bring a Korban Pesach because he's not allowed to bring the Korban Pesach. So you have to make him obligated to bring the Korban Pesach. There's an obligation to make himself obligated and not to avoid the obligation. So this person is standing right outside and he's avoiding the obligation to bring the Korban Pesach. You should have to tell him to step inside. No, this is a valid exemption. When someone is tamei or someone is didn't have the bris, you have to do everything to make yourself obligated to bring the carbon pesach. And if you don't, then there's kares for them. But here he did everything to make himself obligated, except for the one point which he's allowed to do. He's allowed to be on a trip, and he is on a trip. Rabbi Amar Tanoi, Rabbi says this is actually Machlekes Tanoi. The Tanya, Rabbi Lezer Eimer nemer richuk makom pesach and nemer richuk makom b'maiser. Ma'alal and chutz lachilasi, afkan chutz lachilasi. What's considered richuk makom by maiser? Maiser, you have to go to Yerushalayim. So too, by the carbon pesach, you have to be in Yerushalayim. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Eimer mishum Rabbi Lezer chutz lachiyasei. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says name Rabbi Lezer. It doesn't mean chutz Yerushalayim. It means, yes, both of them say derech rechaika, but each one has its own rechaika. One of them is Yerushalayim, and one of them is the place where the carbon pesach is done. Just like the meiser is done in Yerushalayim, it's eaten in Yerushalayim. Carbon pesach is eaten in the Azara. So if you're outside the Azara for the carbon pesach, you're already on the derech rechaika. Kama nazla hadam Rabbi Yitzchak bar Rabbi Yosef b'tmeim halacha acharei v'im dem Azara. When it comes to deciding who. How to calculate how many people are tamei, because if the majority of the congregation is tamei, then you're allowed to bring the carbon pesach b'tumah. In impurity, you can still bring the carbon pesach. Now, who goes into that calculation? So Rabbi Yitzchak bar Rabbi Yosef says that you calculate how many people are in the Azara and how many of them are tamei. Oh, come on, Rabbi Yosef bar Rabbi Yehuda, Sham Mishum Rabbi Lezer. That fits perfectly with Rabbi Yosef bar Rabbi Yehuda that says the name of Rabbi Lezer, that anyone that's not in the Azara is exempt from the carbon pesach anyway. So who's going to be counted is only those people that are in the Azara. Amar lach Rabbi Yossi, Amar lei Rabbi Yossi lefika. Rabbi Yossi says to Rabbi Lezer, therefore, that hay has a dot on top of it of rechaika to tell me that it doesn't really need to be rechaika. Tanya, Rabbi Yosef Glili Eimer derech. It says in the pasuk, someone that's on the road. Shemeni mahalach shnayim shleisha yamim. Oh, actually, I have to add in a word over here. That's an aleph. Derech rechaika. Yeah, they're very important. It says on the distant journey. Shemeni mahalach shnayim shleisha yamim. Probably he's 2-3 days away. Kishwaimer b'derech leihaya. The pasuk goes back and forth. First, it tells me his exemption. Anyone that's on a distant journey can't do the carbon pesach, can do the pesach sheni. However, someone that isn't on a journey and doesn't do it, then he gets kares. So when it says journey, anyone that's on a journey, over there it says derech rechaika. When it says, but if he's not on a journey, it doesn't tell me derech rechaika. It only says derech. It skips that modifier. So, b'derech leihaya magid sheskufas azara v'lachutz kari derech. That means that he would only get kares if he is in the Azara and he doesn't do it. But once he's outside the Azara, then he's already on the road and there's no kares for him. That's such a person.